We welcome you to another episode of Talking Blizz with Joey Bonadonna. And this week we welcome in Blizzard offensive lineman number 50, Trent Clark. Trent, welcome to the show. How are we doing this week?
Doing great, Joey. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, Trent, back for year number two, very early on in the season, coming off the loss on Sunday against the Massachusetts Pirates, but a great it's great to see the season starting back up again here in the Indoor Football League. But first off, how was camp? How was week one? And yeah, how's year two starting?
Uh, well, starting off with camp, camp was, a grind as usual. I mean, coming in year two, had to prove that, that I still got it and, still had some improvements to make on, my personal game myself. But I grinded it out. I still earned my position starting role. So I'm glad about that. And then just going into year two, man, it's surreal, in the great environment. We're here in Green Bay, so nothing but football fans and absolutely nothing but love.
Yeah, you mentioned Green Bay being a football town. Yeah, week one, only two games were played, but Blizzard fans winning the fan base of the week award. Yeah, as we kind of take a look into that game, tell me about how that crowd was for you guys on Sunday.
Oh man, the crowd was electric, man. It was. I know it's going into my second year, but it's always something about just going into that crowd, hearing everybody scream. It's surreal, It's just like you never get over that part. You never get over that part of the game.
And diving a little bit into, yeah, the rest of that game. Um, Obviously falling short 44 to 40, but through those first three quarters, it looked like, this squad was figuring things out, firing on all cylinders, just could not finish the job in the fourth quarter. But what did you take away from this game in trying to set your goals for the rest of the season?
Well, we're in season, so I'm not really in personal goals right now. More of unit offensively wise. But what we took away as an offense was that we need to finish. We need to finish. We understand that we are dangerous, we are explosive, and that we need to, not go into the second half thinking that we got the ups on the opponent. We need to actually finish the game, leave it out of anybody else's hands but ours.
Well, diving into a little bit of your story here, Trent, coming into Green Bay. You are a native of Trotwood, Ohio, up near that the Dayton area in Ohio. Tell me about growing up. How big of a part was football in your life?
Growing up, I mean, football was, right there with school. I mean, live, breathe, and ate football, man. It started from Pop Warner. I played Pop Warner for Trotwood, and then leading up into high school, I mean, every grade was football, football, football. And then once we got into high school, it was, multi-sport athlete, wrestling, mainly wrestling for me. I didn't have a jump shot, unfortunately. So,
Usually, I mean, this is something I've learned over the last few years, that wrestling, especially for linemen, that is a huge part of helping develop offensive lineman skills and defensive lineman skills as it is. But um, yeah, talk about where that's kind of helped you or where that did help you growing up.
oh, it helped me a lot, man. I mean, going into, I think my first year of wrestling was probably my sophomore year of high school. So going in, I'm just getting out of football. My body is used to, just hitting and running. That's it. Getting into wrestling, I mean, you get into that environment and it's a different, way different environment than what you think it is. I mean, all the conditioning that we've done and all the strength that you need, all the core muscles that you need in order to, do certain moves on an opponent. It it translates to the field to being that you have to dominate your specific person that's in front of you. And it helped me a lot because that helped me like put the blinders on for football in that goal to dominate the D line first, and then if I get the chance to go up to the second level of linebackers and DBs, etc.
And out of high school, you go on to get a chance to play Division II at Tiffin. Tell me about that story and making that decision of where you wanted to go for your next level.
Coming out of high school, I had a multitude of choices. I had Division III football in Springfield, Ohio, Wittenberg University, and then I had Central State, and then I think I had probably a sister campus of Cincinnati University that that offered me. But in my ultimate decision, I chose Tiffin just because there wasn't like there was a winning culture there. From my visit, there was a winning culture there. They just seemed to they needed that extra push. And from talking to the coaches and everything, I felt that I could be that extra push into that next realm of winning, into that winning era.
This was something th that yeah, we got a chance to look at looking at um your career, that culture of winning. You guys started out 6-5, but after that, some really successful seasons, getting at least 8 wins in all those seasons except for the COVID season. Of course, you guys went undefeated.
Yeah.
But talk about how that winning culture developed while you were with the Dragons.
The winning culture was mainly from the player standpoint. We were, young guys, we were tired of losing. We just said to ourselves, hey, we got to make this stuff better. And how do you make it better? You got to hold people accountable. You got to hold ourselves accountable. And even when our head coach, Chris Reiser, had came in, he's now at Gardner Webb. But even when he had came in, he said, we are turning this into a winning program. And with that vision, I mean, we saw the vision, we bought in, and we took it and ran with it.
And then coming out of school, at Tiffin, what was that what was that time like trying to figure out what are you going to do at the next level, continue playing or what have you? What was that stretch like?
Oh, it was a crazy stretch, man. It was a multitude of things going into my mind at that point. You get done with ball, you turn your equipment in, and you go on to like finish your classes, finish these final essays and everything. You graduate, and it's just like, huh, I'm not a football player anymore. I mean, do I go on? Like, of course, some people will go on and do their degree field and everything. I wanted to look for more. I wanted to look for more football because I immersed myself in it so much to the point where I wanted this to be a part of my life, as long as I can make it.
And then getting into that first year with Green Bay, what was that adjustment like? Obviously, going from the outdoor to the indoor game. Take me back to that first year of Trent Clark and what that adjustment was like for you as an offensive lineman.
So funny story. Coach Peak. This is when I was in camp. Coach Dean Peacock. He had we were going through camp as normal. I was running with the twos back then. But he came to me one day before team and said, you're starting with the ones this practice. I want to see what you got." And he reminds me every time of me being bug-eyed and like scared and saying, "Huh?" I mean, it was good, but I the transition was very, very quick for me, I would say. It was more so, I mean, we all seen an indoor football game before. It's more of a faster pace. You got to actually, dominate the person in front of you because if you don't do your 1/8, then you're messing up the play basically.
And obviously, yeah, that adjustment was very quick for you. Jumping in, started in week 1 and didn't miss a start for the rest of the season, winning Blizzard Lineman of the Year in 2023. What was year 1 like for you? It kind of take me through where were some memories of that season where you realized that you figured this out, and especially in game as opposed to practice. What were those moments like for you?
Um, Moments for me were after Frisco, after that first loss. I was just kind of like, this isn't our culture. This isn't our culture. I'm gonna do everything personally that I can to make myself better, while also making the people around me better. And I feel like I did do that to a certain extent, but sometimes you end up falling short of your goals, and that's kind of what happened with that season.
And even off the field as well, you were a guy that was pretty active in the community as well. And you talk about this fan base that the Green Bay Blizzard have. What has that given to you, as well as what you've given back to the community as well?
I mean, the community is just great, man. I mean, we go out to these schools and everything. We read to these kids, and they're just ecstatic. They're bright eyed and bushy tailed. I mean, we're the next best thing to the Packers, and they love it. And it's just great to go out there. I remember one school visit. I think I read to a class, and I think I probably played rock paper scissors with about 30 to 50 kids, dude, and it was amazing. I was tired by the end of it, but it was amazing.
In situations like that, does that help you feel like, hey, you know what you're playing for? You have this group behind you. What does that help you on game days as well?
It adds to my why. It adds to my why. I mean, these kids want to come out, they want to see a game to where they can come onto the field after and meet one of their favorite players. And it's just an amazing experience, for a kid to come up to you after a win or a loss and say, hey, you came and read to me at school. You remember that? We played rock, paper, scissors. And it's an amazing feeling.
It's one of those moments that you know that you left an impact on someone throughout that time. Segueing into this was something that I didn't know until I got a chance to talk to you last week. Your favorite player growing up was Brian Urlacher,
Yeah.
number 54. You made the switch to number 50 this year. But your favorite player was Brian Urlacher, and you mentioned it's a little interesting that an offensive lineman's favorite player is a linebacker. Um, Talk about the players that have kind of helped you and left an impact on you as you are in your football career.
Well, the only reason like I love Brian Urlacher is because I mean, when you go on any of these like NFL biography or whatever you go on and they talk about these players, they use these words to describe them, such as tenacity, tough, just and I feel like Brian Urlacher encapsulated all of those words. I understand he's a linebacker, but my favorite number is also 54. So it's kind of like, oh, this guy is like tough, gritty guy, and he's wearing a 54. I mean, like that's cool as hell to me.
And for you, I mean, not only is he a linebacker, he's also a Chicago Bear, and you do play in Green Bay. Is that something you want to admit? Are you or were you a Bears fan growing up, or what was the
Oh
connection there?
no. I will always, sorry, Green Bay fans. I will always be a member of the Steel Curtain Mafia.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. Hey, personally, I remember 2010 vividly, that season, the ending of that one. So, yeah, I will say Super Bowl 45 will forever have that one. We might not have had much since,
Yeah.
but I'll always have Super Bowl 45. Well, Trent, as we enter this week, you're getting a chance to take on the Iowa Barnstormers. Before you guys hit the bye, two home games to start your season. Um, Again, we mentioned that you guys didn't get a chance to finish in week one. Now you get an opportunity to jump back here into week two. What do you like about this matchup going into it this weekend?
Uh, well, the trend around the league is, I mean, most of the guys are new, so there's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows of the game. There's going to be a lot of high points, a lot of low points. Personally, coming into the game, I like what we're doing offensively. I like what we're doing defensively. I think we're going to shock a lot of people who have I wouldn't say negative perspective of the Blizzards, but Well, I'll just leave it at that. We're going to shock a lot of people.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time today, Trent, to get a chance to talk about your story as we head into week number 2, take on the Iowa Barnstormers. Trent, thank you very much for your time.
Hey, no problem. Go Blizz.
And thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode of Talking Blizz. Again, Blizzard taking the field on Saturday, 6:05 at the Resch Center to take on the Iowa Barnstormers. It's going to be a huge one here in week 2. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. And as always, go Blizz.